friends, I am gearing up for the week and I was doing some menu planning. I've got some of the recipes I want to cook this week all printed out. They're actually from my blog because I'm feeling all the fall vibes and I want to cook some of my fall favorite foods this week. So I thought I would just take you along throughout the week as I make some of these foods that I just have to make the most of during the fall. But anyway, as I was planning, I realized I hadn't told you guys yet here on YouTube that the Tidbits Day Planner for 2025 is out and ready for you to purchase. I've got, let's see, these 3 colors, which you can get a closer look at on the website. But this is the planner that I designed myself. It works perfectly for keepers of the home, but it comes with a cool little slip case, a protective slip case, so it holds up really well through the year. It's covered in a linen material. It is so beautiful. Anyway, I won't talk too much about it because I have some cooking to do, but you can go check out these products and more at tidbitsandco.com. But for now, I'm going to take you into the kitchen, show you something that I got that is going to make cooking really fun this week, and then we'll get in with my favorite fall recipes and take you along as I make them. I'm going to be cooking with this new cookware set today, which I'm really excited about. The sponsor for this video is Caraway, and they sent me this cookware set to try out. So we're gonna try it out together for the first time, but I think they are absolutely beautiful, which is a high priority for me. But also, I got really interested in Caraway when I heard that they make non-toxic cookware, but also because currently we only have a couple of like cheapo saucepans and some cast iron skillets. Now I love my cast iron skillets, but since moving here, we now have a glass top induction stovetop, and maybe I'm just a bad cook, but if you've ever tried the glass top with cast iron, it is tricky. We are often burning things. Things stick really bad to the cast iron with the glass top, and so it's been a source of frustration. And so when I heard about Caraway, I was quite anxious to give them a try. They are coated with a ceramic lining, which is non-toxic, which is a very big priority for me. And they also work great on induction stovetops, as well as many other cooktops, which you can check out online. And we're gonna try it out, but because of the ceramic coating that makes it non-stick, it's also recommended to use a lower heat because the ceramic holds the heat really well. So we really don't need to do high heat, and it should avoid the burning and the sticking problem that I've been having. So I'm really excited to give them a try. And just a quick introduction to the company. Caraway is a non-toxic kitchenware brand that makes really high quality and beautiful products like you see here, but they also have more if you want to check them out online. Now, a fun little story that I found super interesting. So the founder of Caraway accidentally overheated a pan that was coated with Teflon or PTFE, and then he discovered after getting sick from this that any pan that is heated up to 500 degrees Fahrenheit only takes about 2.5 minutes before it's releasing these toxic forever chemicals into your food and into your air, which is very concerning. So I'm thrilled that that incident led to creating this cookware brand that is so much healthier for us, super high quality, and such a beautiful product. So like I mentioned, these Caraway pans use a naturally non-stick ceramic coating, which makes it really nice because you can use very minimal butter or oil when you're cooking, decreasing some of the extra fat that you might have to use otherwise in other non-stick pans. This also makes them really easy to get clean with just some gentle soap and water. So I'm excited to try them and discover all these amazing benefits. And I would highly recommend you get the set that I have here. It comes with a saute pan, a fry pan, a Dutch oven, and a saucepan. This is pretty much all I need. Plus you get lids for all of them with a lid holder and a magnetic pan rack for storage. This saves you 20% if you buy them in this set versus buying them individually. And I would recommend when you're shopping for cookware, make sure they don't have these like man-made forever chemicals like PTFE, PFOA, These are manufactured chemicals that have been used to make products resistant to like heat and water and grease and sticking. But a lot of studies have found that exposure to these high levels of chemicals could actually affect things like growth development, reproduction. They could damage the liver, lots of health concerns that I just don't think we want to mess around with. So it's really good to know that Caraway cookware is free of these harmful chemicals and other toxic materials. That's a major win in my book. All right, I'm about ready to get cooking, but if you're interested in learning more, check the description in my link below where you can bundle these products and save 20%, but I will also leave a code down there that you can add to your order to save an extra 10%. So really excited about this offer from Caraway. Hope you take advantage of it. And now let's try them out with all of these fall favorite meals that I have planned for my family. Before I do any fall cooking, I need to whip up a batch of pumpkin pie spice. I use it in just about everything, right? Pumpkin breads, fall smoothies, you name it. So I find it's a lot cheaper to buy your spices in bulk and then make up your own pumpkin pie spice. It's just a mix of some of our favorite fall flavors. So I will show you how to do that, and remember all these recipes are going to be found at my blog, which I will link below. So on my recipe on my blog at tidbitsandcommunity.com, I have like 2 different increments. You can make this pumpkin pie spice in like a small batch or in a large batch. It's really easy. You're just mixing cinnamon, and I'd say the bulk of it is cinnamon, and then ginger, and then some nutmeg, allspice, and cloves. So you just pour them in a bowl with a whisk, combine it all, and then I like to put it in a cute little jar, label it, and this batch will get us by for this fall season. So now with my pumpkin pie spice, I'm ready to make one of our favorites, which is a healthy pumpkin smoothie bowl. This one is really nice in the early fall because it's still warm outside. We're craving some of those pumpkin-y flavors, cinnamon, nutmeg, and all those warm, delicious spices that we can include in food, but maybe the kitchen's still hot. So this pumpkin smoothie is so delicious and such a treat. I'd say we make it a lot in September because the weather's just perfect for it. So the ingredients for this pumpkin bowl is any kind of milk. I like to use almond milk or dairy milk if we have it. Some yogurt, you can use dairy-free yogurt. And then it takes a half a cup of pumpkin puree. Careful not to get the pumpkin pie puree that has added sugar. And then a frozen banana gives it a lot of sweetness, so you really don't need to use very much pure maple syrup. But then a secret ingredient here is some frozen cauliflower, which is a great way to sneak some veggies in with your family and maybe some picky eaters. It just adds a creamy texture into smoothies. And then of course this vegetable. I had some like diced cauliflower this time, but if you just have like frozen cauliflower florets, that works great too because it's all getting blended up. And then you can sweeten it or not, but I do add a splash of pure maple syrup because I love the maple syrup flavor notes with pumpkin. Then you can also add some vanilla extract. I mean, of course you can drink it like a smoothie, but it's fun to make this a smoothie bowl and add the delicious toppings. So I like to slice up some banana slices and kind of layer them on one side. This one's great with some granola. You can toss that down the middle. Let's see, what else did I add? Oh, some cocoa nibs. These are really yummy. Add a really delicious cocoa crunch to it. My kids love it when I put these on their smoothie bowls. If you have some like sliced almonds, you can throw them on there. You can drizzle some honey, add a little sprinkle of pumpkin pie spice. It's just a really beautiful orange pumpkin-y bowl that is also refreshing. Great for September. Now it was dinner time and I'm whipping up one of our family's favorite soups. This is on my blog. I'm calling it a Better Than Zupa's Creamy Cauliflower Soup. Now, if you've ever been to the restaurant Zupa's Cafe, it's one of my favorites. They have soups, salads, and sandwiches and bowls. Anyway, they have this delicious creamy cauliflower soup. So years ago, I set out to make my own because we loved it so much. It's like the ultimate comfort food, and you feel a little good about eating it because it has cauliflower. But anyway, again, recipe on the blog. This one requires like a head of cauliflower. You can just rough chop it, and an onion, which you can rough chop, because you're just going to puree it up, so you don't need to be too particular about chopping anything. And this was the first time using this big pot, so I was super excited. New kitchen toys are always fun for me. Anyway, you're just basically going to make a roux with butter and your sauteed onions and garlic, and get those really soft and sauteed up. And then you can add some flour, which of course is kind of the thickener in this soup. I just used all-purpose einkorn flour, but you can use whatever you have on hand. Even whole grain flours work great because it's just the thickener here. So then you're going to add some water and some chicken broth. Oh, and of course, don't forget your salt in there as well. It's going to be needed, otherwise it might be a little bland. But then with all that liquid in there, you're ready to add your head of cauliflower and let that just simmer and get fork tender. I actually like it a little more than fork tender. I want it really tender because I've noticed if it's not tender enough, it doesn't puree up quite as smooth. So you can cover that and let it just simmer and get the cauliflower nice and tender. Now once that cauliflower is all tender and ready and cooked up, you can put this in a blender. You can use an immersion blender, but I really find that the blender works best to get it super creamy, which is what you're going for. Now I like to actually add my cheese in at this time. Number one, because you use a little bit of pepper jack and my kids don't like the red flakes. But also just adding the cheese in with this hot soup just makes it melt and get it super creamy. Now you might be surprised, this meal is super filling, so I actually don't serve a lot on the side. Maybe some bread for my kids to dip it in. You can use some thyme from the garden or rosemary to kind of garnish it, but it's just really comforting and filling in and of itself and has plenty of protein. So something else, now the way I make it, I mean, it's comfort food, right? You got the milk and the cheese in here. But my sister Marcy over on the blog instafreshmeals.com, she kind of hacked my recipe and wanted to show me how you could make this a lot healthier. So she uses like garbanzo beans to make it thick. I like her recipe equally as much. Maybe give them both a try and tell us which one is your favorite, because it's a constant debate for us. Now, after using this pan for the first time, I was really quite pleased. It washes up so easy, you guys. I'm really enjoying the Caraway pans. Okay, the last thing I wanted to make on this day was some fall potpourri, or like a fall simmer pot. Now, if you've ever steamed cauliflower in your home, you know it can kind of smell a little funky. So I was just feeling like, hey, you know what? I've got some oranges and apples. I could make this little simmer pot that's more of like a fall version rather than like a Christmas or winter version. So I went ahead and played around with that, and I got a blog post up for you as well if you want to check this out, as well as some like variety of things you can add in there to mix it up. But a fall simmer pot for me was just some apples, some orange slices. You dump in some water into your pot. You can add some cinnamon sticks. Actually, I think the cinnamon sticks are required, quite frankly. I had some whole cloves, so I threw those in, and then I went to the garden and got some lemon thyme. Thought that was a really yummy addition. And then if you even want, you can sprinkle in some dried spices, like some more cinnamon, nutmeg, and whatnot. But I left it at that. And it smelled so good, just simmering over there. My poor kids, they thought I was making wassail, which gave me the idea to make it the following day. But they were disappointed that this was just for smell. But it did do the job of cutting all the cauliflower smell and making our house smell like fall. It was delicious. So definitely check out my blog for some fall simmer pot ideas. All right, it's another cozy day. It's actually really stormy today. So I'm feeling like some warm tea before I get cooking. I'm just stocking up my little tea jar here, one of them. But I thought it'd be fun to tell you guys about this Yogi brand. They have these few flavors of herbal tea that I really love. This one's the pumpkin spice. It's delicious during the fall time. They also have an orange clove that is really, really yummy, and a peppermint vanilla that's to die for. That's my favorite during the winter when it's like snowy outside. But I'm craving some pumpkin spice. So let me show you a little herbal tea hack that I do to make more of a potent, delicious cup of tea. Now, of course, these, pre-made tea bags are great to just put in a cup of hot water, but I've found few extra steps makes it more potent. So I will actually open up 2 or 3 of these packs, depending if I know some kids are going to want to drink a cup of tea with me. And I actually dump out the herbs from the little tea bag and put them in my French press. And for some reason, this just makes it more flavorful. So I like to do that when I'm not in a hurry or wanting to make something super quick. And then I just pour the hot water into the French press and let it sit and steep for as long as I want. And then when it's finished, I can pour that really dark, yummy tea into a cup. I like to just add maybe a splash of milk and a little splash of pure maple syrup, whisk it up real good, and just sit and relax and enjoy a cup of tea. This was quite delightful, and my kids were just thrilled that I made them some as well. So hope you'll try out this brand of tea. It's really yummy. So for lunch this day, and if you're catching on, sometimes, or a lot of times, I do breakfast foods for lunch if I know that my kids will just be delighted and they're quick and easy to make up. So yes, this is a great breakfast recipe, but also great for lunch or snack or whatever. But I am making some healthy whole wheat pumpkin crepes. Now, this was born out of my kids getting a little bored of my whole wheat crepe recipe, so I thought, let's make it a fall version and add some pumpkin puree, which is great because that's a vegetable. Add some of the pumpkin pie spice that I've already made up, and they just don't turn down crepes. You can fill them, top them, you name it, and they're delicious. We also have kind of an overabundance of eggs right now, so crepes are a great way to use them up. So for this one, I had actually bought some spelt flour from Azure Standard I wanted to try out here, but it's basically eggs, flour, milk, water to just add some more liquid, a little splash of pure maple syrup to, of course, make it a little sweet. You don't have to have that, but again, I love that maple flavor with pumpkin. And then some vanilla extract. Don't forget a little bit of salt. And it also works great if you can add some melted butter. And since I wanted to butter the pan and we don't have a microwave, I just melted the butter right on the in the pan and then poured that into the batter. I love this recipe because you can do it right in the blender and blend it up and then make the crepes from there. And then of course with your crepes you need to add the pumpkin puree and pumpkin pie spice. So for crepes, if you don't have like a crepe skillet or anything, you can still totally make them really easy. You just get your pan and swirl the batter around, let it cook until the edges lift up, and then you can flip it. Now I was really happy with these Caraway pans here because, a lot of times I have to butter pretty heavily when I'm making crepes. I actually found myself wiping the butter off of these pans because the non-stick ceramic lining worked so good to just make it lift up really easily. So these were quick and easy to make with these awesome pans. Then of course you can fill your crepe any way you want, but I grabbed some almond butter this time and spread it down the middle of the crepe and then added in some yogurt inside, wrapped that up. I think pumpkin flavors with banana is really good, so I sliced up some bananas to serve on the side of the plate. Sprinkle some granola. That might seem weird on top of a crepe, but trust me, it's really good to have that little crunch. And then you can add some like coconut flakes, sliced almonds, sprinkle it with some pumpkin pie spice, whatever you're filling here. But these are absolutely delicious. My kids were just thrilled that I made them and said I need to make them more often, which I'll have to make a mental note of. Again, this recipe is on the blog. Now, after making that fall simmer pot the other day, my kids were begging for wassail, so I actually got some of the ingredients I needed for this following day to make that wassail because they were right. That sounded really good. And I actually make wassail a few different ways. You can make it in the Instant Pot. That infuses the flavors really well. You can make it in a crock pot and just let it sit there all day and develop some delicious flavors. Or I think the quicker method is just to do the stovetop method. So that works great. Now my wassail recipe has a few more ingredients than you might think, but oh, it's so delicious. So I like to use apple cider or like an apple juice if you don't have that. This one takes about 8 cups of that. And then I throw in 2 cups of orange juice, about 3/4 cups of pineapple juice, which is an interesting ingredient in here, but it adds such a nice tang. And then kind of like the simmer pot, you just slice up some oranges, some apples. You're going to strain those out so they don't need to be perfect, but it does look beautiful in your pot. And then you can add the traditional fall spices like cinnamon sticks, cloves, and you can also add, like in the ground spices, I had ginger and nutmeg and even topped it off with some ground cinnamon for good measure. And then you just let that simmer on low heat. It works like a potpourri, smells your house up beautifully, but then your kids are not going to be disappointed because they're going to get to drink this delicious, warm, cozy cup of wassail that is so good in the fall. And then you might want to save the recipe for winter time because it's great at Christmas time too. So delicious. All right, another day cooking in the kitchen, which is really fun for me. I got some apples at the farmer's market. Not enough to like justify canning some applesauce, but enough that I'm afraid we won't eat quick enough. So I'm going to just make some quick applesauce because my kids will down that. Really simple. Again, the recipe's on my blog. I'll point you to it, but this is for like a stovetop applesauce recipe. I often make an Instant Pot version as well, which is a little more hands-off, but I'm feeling like this method. Try out the new pans. It's been really fun for me. I've really been enjoying them. So yeah, let me just show you how I make some stovetop applesauce. This time of year, this apple pillar core slicer, say that 5 times, is so handy. We use it a lot when the apples are in abundance. So it felt like a good enough reason to get this out to do a big batch of applesauce. But definitely when we're canning applesauce, this thing gets heavily used. Anyway, get your apples peeled, cored, and sliced, and then you can just add them to the pot. Then you take it over the oven and you just need a little bit of extra liquid. So I use some of this leftover wassail, but if you have like apple cider, it's also good. You can even just do water to give it a little moisture in there so the apples don't burn on the bottom or anything as you're getting them heated up. But if you add like apple cider or wassail or something, it just adds to the flavor. But these apples will cook up pretty fast and soften. So just add your spices, cinnamon, nutmeg, cloves, cinnamon sticks. I actually use the leftover cinnamon sticks from the wassail that I made up. Just anything that you're really feeling, actually. And then you let these just simmer and get really soft. Now I added the cinnamon sticks and those are easy enough to take out, but I actually regretted adding the whole cloves because they were a little harder to pick out. So I would just recommend adding like powdered cloves or ground cloves is actually probably the better term for that. But that will make it easier. But the cinnamon sticks add a lot and they're not hard to take out. And once those apples are really soft, you just add them to a blender, puree it up as much as you want. You can leave it a little chunky. You can get it really smooth and creamy. And I thought I would have some applesauce to use throughout the week, but actually my kids gobbled this up for snack time that day, all in one sitting, which was great. I love seeing their happy faces, but it's fun to top it with some granola. It almost tastes like an apple crisp, really delicious and fun to eat. And remember, if you're wanting to swap out your pans for a non-toxic alternative, I highly recommend Caraway's cookware set, which saves you 20% when you bundle. Plus, you can stack that deal with my code to get an additional 10% off. All that is linked in the description below. Well, my friends, I hope you enjoyed seeing all that yummy fall food, but Mr. Tibbetts and I got to get back to some projects. We're working on this space. It's going to be like a craft room, exercise room, multi-storage room. Anyway, we laid down flooring or painting the walls. We also have roofers working on our roof, which is exciting and a little depressing because the roof is so beautiful, but lots of fun projects going on. We went to Disneyland, made some great memories with our kids, and have, of course, enjoyed some fall sports. My husband loves to coach. Anyway, lots of fun going on. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll be back very soon to share more inspiration for the keeper of the home.